Hey, it's Ari here. Hope you're doing well. In this video, I want to talk about why you should be very silent or be very selective in terms of what information that you give to people around you. And more specifically, what I want to really talk about is when things start going well for you in any area of your life. I would say this is especially the case for making money. When you start making more money or you come across let's say, for example, you have a business that you're running, maybe it's like an online business that you do on the side of your 9 to 5. It suddenly starts going really well. You start getting all this income coming in and you feel really good and you're like super, you feel more energetic. You feel like you want to talk about it with people because, you want to share your success with others, right? Like it feels good to talk about, tell others when things are going well. Or I would say that this also goes for relationships. So let's say that you are a guy and you've been single for, 5 years or something, quite a long time. And then you meet someone and, things are going really well. You really vibe with this person. And then you also want to be silent in terms of that as well. And so the one thing that I have noticed, the thing that I have, the thing that I've experienced when I start telling people about my wins is I almost get this sort of like, there's either this sense of like jealousy or sometimes people just want to, see you fail, right? And it's kind of in human nature where when you see someone start to do very well, it's kind of normal for others to, especially if you have like a, friend group or you have, family members, that are close to you, it is kind of like in human nature for them to kind of feel almost like intimidated by it, or sometimes they can feel, envious because they think that you all of a sudden, they kind of get like a sense where you feel like you're like better than them, which is not the case at all. And I don't ever, personally for me, like I don't ever want to like portray myself as like, oh, I'm better than anyone else because I'm just an average everyday person, like, like yourself watching this video, right? So it really just comes down to you have to be very selective because when you let people in about like, when certain things are going well, then either they're going to, tell you about like why that might fail or why it's not the best, use of your time. And then all these like negative things that people might, say it back at you, they kind of start to get in your head and then things tend to sabotage. And so one example that I will give that happened to me was I got into this relationship about, 5 years ago. At the time, I was working in a dollar store position, and most of the coworkers that I've had were very miserable, right? Nobody really liked working at that job, but it was just kind of the type of thing where you kind of bond with people because you kind of just sometimes you work with cool people, and sometimes you kind of make jokes, you kind of try to make work fun. So I was working with people that I thought were people that I can trust and all that. But what I experienced was, like for example, there was a day where I came in late to work because I forgot that I switched shifts with like my manager, where I was originally going to work in the afternoon, and he was going to work during the day, but he had something going on, so he asked me to switch shifts where I would work in the morning and he would come in later at night. So that was like a week prior, and then when that day came, I was actually hanging out with my girlfriend at the time that day. So she came over early in the morning, we were like playing video games, and then she left to go to like this job interview, right? So she left early, and then like 10 minutes after she left, I get a call from my manager saying like, hey, like where are you at? And I'm like, oh, I'm at home. Like, why? And he's like why aren't you at the store? And then I'm like I thought I was working during the night. And then turns out I had to be there. I was late. I was many hours late actually, and I ended up losing my job a couple weeks after that because of how much money the store lost that day. So it was kind of weird how it didn't happen right away. But what happened was I just kind of mentioned like, oh yeah, like I forgot that I was working. I forgot that I was scheduled, and I just happened to be hanging out with my girlfriend that day. And then I said it to one of my coworkers, and then he was not aware that I was in a relationship yet. So then he said to the manager, when he came in, like, oh, I didn't know Ari had a girlfriend or whatever. And then he basically said back to him like, oh man, she's way out of his league or whatever, right? And then next thing you know, he then tells some other coworker at some other store, and then he started basically like laughing at me as well. And so what was interesting was like a few months prior when we actually started dating, he said really positive things about, you know, me and her being together. It's like, oh, I'm really happy for you, right? But I believe that especially in an environment like that, where most people are miserable, most people, you know, they're not making any money at all, and they're barely able to pay their bills, they generally do not want to see other people do well. They don't want to see people do, you know, make money. And there was one other instance with this manager that I just remembered where, you know, he was very aware of the fact that I had, you know, that I was like posting content online because he randomly came across my Facebook profile and discovered that I was posting videos and all that. And I remember at one point, he said to me, like, kind of like in a sort of like a kind of like a nasty tone where he's like, oh, there's more to life than YouTube. And so in response, I want to say, well, there's more to life than punching a clock. And so, yeah, it just this vibe that I got from, you know, just being around people where it's like they generally just don't want to see you do well. And so when you are in a, you know, in kind of like that same position as them, then there's a lot more like comfort there. But when you start doing well, when you start making money, which in my case, I was starting to make money with my online business then I could almost somewhat like sense that, you know, they kind of looked down on what I was doing and saw it as like, oh, it's not like a real thing that you're doing, basically. So yeah, that is what I've learned throughout my years. And especially once you start making money and things start going well, you just want to really just be selective in terms of who you share that information with. And I would say that it's even oftentimes the people that are closest to you, more often than not, they will be the ones that will be kind of against you when you start, you know, when you start going on the come up and you start doing very well. They will give you reasons why, oh, it's probably not the best use of your time. And most of the time, these people who you share it with they don't have the experience that you have doing what you're trying to do. So whether that is for relationships, whether that is for making money, it could be in terms of getting in better shape. You know, there's tons of like know-it-alls out there who will try to give you advice on what you're doing. And more often than not, it just ends up sabotaging you, because then you've got all these extra voices in your head from people who are most likely not on the same path as you. And then you end up just, you kind of just end up self-sabotaging for yourself. You take less action, you feel less confident, and then that leads to it just leads to things going downhill. So shortly after he made that comment about my relationship, she kind of went ghost on me, and then started talking to this other dude, and then, yeah, next thing you know, she kind of broke it off with me, basically. So that was the experience that I went through, and I wanted to just share it here, just to kind of, you know, share my experience. And I want to, if this can help you avoid running into the same issue that I had, then that'll, of course, have been worth it for me. So let me know your thoughts down below. If you had any experience with this, if you agree or disagree, let me know what experience you had with this as well. Did you talk about your success with someone and did it backfire on you? Let me know your story down below as well. But hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you found it useful, and give this a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to see what I do to earn an income online, then you could check out the link down below and you could learn more about what it is that I do. So that being said, take care and all the best.